Hi, my name is Amanda DeFrancisco, and the book that I chose for my modern fantasy is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling. If I could, I would have chosen the entire Harry Potter series, but since I could only choose one, I chose The Prisoner of Azkaban just because it's my favorite in the whole series. And I believe that this book meets all of the criteria that our textbook mentions, and we'll go through each one. The first is the setting, and our textbook says, does the context of the story describe a fantasy world that is detailed and believable? In this book, we have two settings. We have the muggle world, where us non-magical folk live, and we have the magical world, where all of the magic happens. And in the magical world consists of Hogwarts, where Harry goes to school, as well as the Ministry of Magic, where the magical government operates and takes place. And we've also got Diagon Alley, where all of these magical shops are, and Gringotts Bank, the Wizarding Bank, and J.K. Rowling just did an amazing job of putting all of these things together to make this world seem completely real and operational. The next bit of criteria is the plot, and our textbook says, are the events in the story imaginative while also being logical to the world where the story takes place? One of the events in this story is Harry's first Care of Magical Creatures class, where he goes to learn how to take care of all of the magical creatures in this world that he lives in. In class, he meets Buckbeak. Buckbeak is a hippogriff, which is kind of like a crossbreed between an eagle and a horse. In this story, where there's trolls and centaurs and these creepy ghost-like things that fly around called Dementors, it's completely believable that Harry would be taking a class to learn how to take care of these crazy creatures that we could never think of. The next bit of criteria is the characters, and our textbook says, do the characters behave logically and consistently throughout the story? In this book, Harry finds out that this escaped prisoner that everybody's so worried about, Sirius Black, may have had a hand in his parents' murder. And not only may they have had a hand in his parents' murder, he finds out that Sirius Black was one of his parents' really good friends. So much so that he was the best man at their wedding, and he was named Harry's godfather. When Harry finds out, he struggles with hatred for Black and the fact that he can't really do anything about it because he's just a 13-year-old wizard. What can he do? I'm going to read an excerpt here where Harry is talking with his friends Ron and Hermione about how he's feeling. It says, Harry looked at them. They didn't seem to understand at all. Do you know what I see and hear every time a Dementor gets too near me? Ron and Hermione shook their heads, looking apprehensive. I can hear my mum screaming and pleading with Voldemort, and if you'd heard your mum screaming like that, you wouldn't forget it in a hurry. And if you found out someone who was supposed to be a friend of hers betrayed her and sent Voldemort after her, there's nothing you can do about it, said Hermione, looking stricken. The Dementors will catch Black, and he'll go back to Azkaban and serve him right. You heard what Fudge said. Black isn't affected by Azkaban like normal people are. It's not a punishment for him like it is for others. So what are you saying? Said Ron, looking very tense. You want to kill Black or something? Don't be silly, said Hermione in a panicky voice. Harry doesn't want to kill anyone. Do you, Harry? Again, Harry didn't answer. He didn't know what he wanted to do. All he knew was that the idea of doing nothing while Black was at liberty was almost more than he could stand. We see this type of behavior consistent with Harry throughout the entire story. In the first book, he finds out that the Sorcerer's Stone is going to be stolen. So what does he do? He goes and he takes it before it falls into the wrong hands. In the second story, he finds out that Ron's sister, Ginny, has been taken to the Chamber of Secrets and pretty much left for dead. So what does he do? He risks his life and he goes and he saves her. And throughout the entire series, we see Harry always trying to right these wrongs. So I believe that it makes it consistent, makes his character consistent. And he's always trying to fix everything. The next bit of criteria is the style, and our textbook said, is the structure of this story understandable, allowing the reader to create solid and vivid images? J.K. Rowling is just a fantastic writer, and she did a great job of just using all of this detail to describe the characters and where they are and what's going on and what they're saying while it's all going on, that the reader will have absolutely no trouble seeing this world that she created in their head while they're reading. The last bit of criteria is the theme, and the textbook says, can the themes of the story be connected to the life and experiences of the reader? The central theme of Harry Potter is good versus evil. And I believe that anybody, young, old, whether you've read this book or not, can relate to that struggle of good versus evil. And they'll realize, just like Harry, that even though there may be some struggle and disappointment and heartache along the way, that good will always prevail over evil. Like I said, I believe that this book, this entire series, meets this criteria for modern fantasy. And I'll wrap this up by saying, if you haven't read the books or even just watched the movies, you're really missing out, and I strongly recommend it for you. Thanks for listening.